Welcome to What CEOs Talk About. Do you wonder what CEOs talk about behind closed doors? How they bring their vision to reality? How do they overcome and succeed through adversity? We share that and so much more with each episode. Now, let's get started with the show.
Good day, everybody. My name is Martin Hunter. I am the host of What CEOs Talk About, where we translate strategy into frontline operations. Catch my breath here. Today, we have Ryan Hindmarsh, who is the CEO of Sleep Therapeutics. Ryan and I have known each other for a long time, anyways. A long time
years.
now. I asked Ryan, I said, hey, Ryan, give us something that not a lot of people know about you. For the intro, he's like, and then we thought about it. And then we thought about it. And then we thought about it. And then he's such an open book. So Saskatchewan sports, Ryan and I's first date was at Whataburger in Texas, San Antonio, Texas.
Greece. Hey, maybe that's some people don't know me. I don't like getting my hands dirty, like literally dirty. Like it's not like, so Whataburger is like, it's memorable to me because of all the grease and like white sauce and cheeses dripping all over my hands. I was like, oh, this is creepy, but it's so good. You can't not.
Oh, so there you go. We found it. We found the thing and that's why he's a CEO, doesn't like to get his hands dirty.
Coach and develop people to do it. Get their hands dirty for you.
That's right. Delegate and disappear. Ryan, thank you very much for being on the show.
For sure. My pleasure.
What is the title of the show? I let the guests pick. And so Ryan picked a really good one. It fits the times and his thought process.
The thought process and the business I'm in. Yeah. Put your mask on first.
Let's go. There's three ways. Okay, so why do you say put your mask on first? Why is the thought process behind it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the analogy is that everybody who's been on an airplane, they always say, like, you mums and dads and anyone who's around there, you put your mask on first, so then you can help others that need help putting their mask on. And I look at myself, and I think that the history of me and my friends and my colleagues will always tell this is that I take care of myself first and foremost, because no one else is going to, as we know, so that I can be present to take care of others from a servant leadership standpoint. So what that means to me is the wheel of life. Remember the LMI wheel of life from all the different spokes. It's not all about financial and career to me. It never has been. It's about how can I have a good social life? How can I play more guitar? How can I drink more wine? How can I spend more time with my wife and my family and my friends? And then when I come to work, I'll be fulfilled and filled and able to serve and able to be present for those who need a mask or need help putting a mask on, because mine's already on.
That's right. So walk us through a little bit. What is the circle of life for those people watching and listening? What is the wheel of life? Pardon me.
Yeah, the wheel of life. Yeah, the circle of life. Isn't that a song like that's a Disney song?
I was going to say that. Lion King.
Wakando, something. Lion King. Yeah, there we go. You got it. So LMI circle of life, which is in my past career, is you look at family, home, financial career, mental, educational, physical health, social, cultural, and spiritual, ethical. And the idea is every month, got a goal within each of those reigns. And you can always kind of be evaluating yourself of what's important or what's pertinent for you that month. Mm-hmm. But if you've got a goal or a target or a focus on each of those 6 spokes, mm-hmm. I love the analogy. I think you brought this one up because you drew it on one of those things, is that if your wheel, let's say as the numbers grow and they get bigger to the outside, I'm using my hands here, but I know I'm mm-hmm. on a podcast, 0's the middle, 10's the outside.
Yeah.
I love mountain biking. I'm into that now. Mountain bike tires switch from 26 inches to 29 inches. And the amount of stuff I can roll over with a 29-inch tire versus a 26-inch tire, the more spread out, the more bigger my wheel is, the more obstacles I'll be able to handle, is the way I look at it.
that is true. So that is the analogy that I bring forth.
It was yours. You drew the bike. I remember you drew the bike, and then the
That's right.
personal side has the crank on it and draws this. I can see this in my I'm imagining it. But I think it's that. And if you have like a 2 in one of your spokes, well, if your one spoke's broke, your wheel just blows up.
Oh yeah, there's that the tunk, the tunk, the tunk, the tunk, the tunk. You're not, and so LMI, for those people who don't know, this means Leadership Management Institute. Paul J. Meyer back in 50s, 60s, 70s.
It's like
Anyways,
black and white back then. There was no
but
color then.
yeah. When there's just train and steam engines. No, just kidding. What a lot of people don't know is Stephen Covey was an apprentice of Paul J. Meyer.
Correct.
Yeah. So if you go check out Slight Edge Group from Stephen Daniels, you'll learn a lot more about LMI. It's across the world. It's a great leadership tool, but personal productivity is great. So a lot, Ryan and I use LMI as we bring people on board to our organization. I think, Ryan, you do it for your organization as well, is you run as many people as you can through this educational program, right?
That's right. Yeah. Leadership development, personal development programs.
Correct. So you put your mask on first. So it's important to put your first mask. So let's talk about now the jersey or the sweater that you're wearing is Sleep Therapeutics. Why is it? How does it relate to Sleep Therapeutics? What is Sleep Therapeutics?
Yeah, so Sleep Therapeutics. So we are we're striving to be Canada's premier place to go to for customized sleep and wellness solutions.
Okay.
So currently, our main focus is sleep, and currently the majority of our customers are CPAP users or CPAP customers. So CPAP, as some might know listening, comes with a mask, and you put your mask on at night so that you can sleep and not snore and make sure you're breathing. There's CPAP stands for continuous positive air pressure, so you're always getting air pressure through your nose.
Oh, thank you.
I had a CPAP machine. I've had one for 10 years. I snored all my life. I've had one for 10 years. Once I got over the fact that I had failed the sleeping test and had to do something about it, and realized I'd snored all my life. If I put that mask on every night, and that's where they put your mask on, if I put that mask on every night, I'm fine. Like that's how I sleep.
Yeah.
That guarantees me the best sleep I can get. It guarantees that snoring will stop. It guarantees that I'll be the best rested person I can be. And so all of our clients and patients, we encourage them to put their mask on, because sometimes you won't, or sometimes it's difficult, or sometimes you throw it off in the middle of the night because it's itching your nose or whatever it is. But we know that mask is guaranteed to stop you from snoring. We know that mask is going to help you get a better sleep, recover better, think better, all that sort of stuff. And so it's done that for me. When I put a first CPAP machine on, it took about 3 months, but it changed my life. Just absolutely transformed my life.
Because for the people, and we'll get into this detail, is that put your mask on first means a lot to Ryan, because there's a culmination of where you're at today that is associated with that, right? So let's go back a little bit. So where do you come from? Let's tell your story a little bit. Back in 1970.
When I was just a glimmer in my mother's eye.
That's right.
Saskatchewan boy, born and raised, did all my schooling in Saskatoon, the University of Saskatchewan. Great place to be from, they say. Great people. Everyone basically leaves. Not everybody. Two my buddies are still there. They're still there. But people leave, and a lot of them go west. That was the place. You go west because you're used to skiing out west, or you want to take off that way. And I felt going east was my calling. So I came to Toronto when I was kind of finished up my schooling, and I was a personal trainer or a strength and conditioning coach for many athletes and NHL players and Olympians when I was in Saskatoon. So I came out to make a career of personal training, and soon enough I was training downtown Toronto, and there weren't any athletes there. It was just all lawyers and bankers and all that sort of stuff. which was great and interesting. But you can make a career out of personal training, so I did that. And so I think I've always been a coach and always a developer of people as it went. And then through there, went through different places of managing gyms and owning gyms and sports injury clinics, and got to a place I think in my life where I wanted more, and that's where LMI kind of came in.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that personal productivity program. I learned a lot about my personality and how I was better able to relate to others,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. So it just put a framework into it for me. I learned then I wasn't sleeping well, and it was affecting my life too. Not that I
Yeah.
didn't know I wasn't sleeping well. So the CPAP machine came into play, and then I just started to realize I wasn't achieving my full potential. I think is what it was. So I was kind of in these positions and jobs, and just kind of struggling with my sleep and energy and all that sort of piece. And what the LMI programming taught me was that I was a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a great leader. Transform a bit more. I drank the Kool-Aid so much I left the sports injury world and I went into having my own LMI franchise
Okay.
in Toronto, and started to. So it's a licensee system actually. So you're able to coach and develop their products or
Yeah.
coach their products, which is what you knew. So when I went out as a salesman on my own, trying to sell thin air to everybody, I can tell you the biggest dream ever, but I can't put it into any tangibleness to you at this moment. So what a learning experience to be able to come learn how to be a leadership coach, learn confidence in my ability to speak to people and sell in essence and
Yeah.
develop
Yeah.
people, right? And wow, what a fascinating way to be able to be in part of somebody's life for like a 6-month program and then go through all the development they go through. And maybe it didn't affect work then, but they're treating their kids better, or they're spending more time with their wife, or they're fixing this wheel of life
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
spokes.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing. And one of my clients at that point I got introduced to was Sleep Therapeutics. And so I was providing leadership development programming for them through LMI. And I was like, wow, what a great group of people. Like just really caring. It's healthcare, which I've
Mm-hmm.
always been in essence, right?
Yeah.
I've always cared about helping people, and that's the first game, and the other stuff comes after. But just a great group of younger individuals, so passionate about helping, passionate about growth personally, passionate about growth professionally, helping people. How can I help more people sleep better? And I remember saying to one of the owners at that point, Lionel, that time I was like, "Wow, this would be a really cool place to work." He's like, "Well, well, you do work here, but we are looking for a vice president. So what do you interview for?" And I'm like, "Oh, I already have a job, kind of, but I'm
Yeah.
like, why
Yeah.
not? What can I lose?" So, wow, did ton of prep for the interview and had a good time, and then the end of it was they offered me a job on the spot, and I was like transitioned into it and got to work with the team that I knew about. I knew
Yeah. That you
internally about the
trained.
business
Yeah.
that I trained, and so yeah, so it's been 3 years of amazing stuff. Yeah, at Sleep Therapeutics. That's where I am now.
You know, for those who are listening and watching, I hope you've listened and learned a lot of people say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a CEO, I'm this, I'm that, especially it's a buzzword now, right? And so everybody wants to be that CEO, wants to be that entrepreneur. They don't realize what it takes. And they say, well, I'd never be a good employee. But we can hear from your journey that it's been in and out of entrepreneur, employee, entrepreneur, employee. And now you're very happy being the CEO, right? You do listen, you do have bosses. There's a lot of people that don't realize that it's not about positioning yourself or putting yourself in a box. It's what fits well. And in your case, you focus on that wheel of life. So you look at those
Mm,
6 different spokes. 6 seems to be a very um, when you look at numerology, I'm not going to go into details, but it's funny how
oh yeah.
6 pops out in 3, 6, 9. Anyways, it's just fascinating how
Hmm.
things work. So, anyways, so you focus on those 6 areas of your life, and it doesn't have to be entrepreneurial or it doesn't have to be employee. It's just what
Hmm.
feels good. And I think it kind of brings it back to putting your mask on first, right? As you mentioned, I don't give a shit if I'm an entrepreneur or if I'm an employee. If this feels good, if I've got my mask on first, then I can help others, right?
We have this. It's such a great point, Martin, in that we have this saying at work, and we use it a lot, with ease. Like, things shouldn't be difficult. And I think
Mm,
I told you this before. Like, if everything's kind of aligned, it kind of comes. I think we talked about this last time we spoke. Was I feel the most comfortable in my skin that I ever had. And I think I was listening to a podcast, Tim Ferriss, the other day. I was interviewing somebody, I can't remember his name, or it might have been something totally different. So many podcasts
mhm,
in my mind. But when you get to this point of like where, like, what, you know, the saying, it's like you get to this point of, I really realize who I am now.
mhm,
And it took me 47 years to get to this point, maybe 46. And it should be easy. It
mhm,
should be comfortable. You should understand yourself. You should know what motivates you. You should know where you're comfortable, and you don't have that it doesn't have that label, right?
mhm.
I always did know I didn't like people telling me what to do, but who does? In essence,
True.
right? So that's not a trait that gets you to CEOism, but like, I always felt that if you understand, and I think it's taking care of yourself, but also understanding yourself is that other piece for
Oh,
me.
yeah, that's
And
right.
that's what I'm like, I understand what motivates me. I understand what fuels me. I understand what amount of rest and recreation I need so that I can kind of come here. I understand how many hours I can function from a working standpoint and how much I can give. Um, yeah, so I love your point, because it doesn't have to have a label, right? From
Yeah.
hear you saying just be, and it should happen with ease.
You said something that I want everybody who's listening: rest and recreation. That
Yes.
to fuel, you said, how much rest and recreation do I need to fuel my ability to perform during work? And how
Mm,
many times do I hear on this show saying, this is why I work, right? And I've put this so that I can rest and have recreation, where your mindset is completely different. It's like let's go. It just fits so well to putting your mask on first. And so it's true. People work hard when you think of prosperity. So I have an equation that says, okay, so people say, oh, you have to sustainable. Well, without making money, you can't be sustainable. Or, well, let me rephrase this. Some people work very, very hard, have a lot of money, but are not sustainable, therefore do not equate to prosperity. Some
mm,
people are very sustainable, make a little bit of profit, but then if something happens in nature, let's take agriculture or something like that, somebody who wants to live on a farm off of pigs and stuff. If something happens, then their prosperity goes right down. To keep the balance, there has to be some profit, some sustainability for prosperity. And I think that's the achievement that everybody, corporations, organizations, it's what's that fine balance, right? Um,
yes.
I believe that Ryan loves what he does. Absolutely. Does he love to lead people? Does he love to solve problems? Does he love to help people sleep and improve better? That his desire to help and his drive to help is not taken away because he wants to rest and have recreation so that he can do that better. That's that size of that wheel. So, people, hey, this is a good mind shift for people to understand. Prosperity comes in a full circle. As my dog barks at the construction guys, he's
Good
doing
job.
his
Good
job.
job.
He's
Good
doing
job.
his job. For those who are listening, my dog's name is Spot. It is really Spot the
Spot
dog.
is a spot. Nice.
Spot the dog, rescue dog.
Perfect.
Um, so what is the one thing? So you are comfortable, you're in a good spot. What are you struggling with? When you're
Mm,
journaling or something like that, like where's the next step for Ryan?
it's a great question. And I have been journaling, actually. I love that word. I just kind of restarted that again into my life. And I'm using this journal. It's called the Mind Journal. And it's like you write down all your feelings, or you check off your feelings in the morning. And I'm like, and it's a man's journal
Mhm.
too. And it's like, maybe we don't go to our feelings as much as we should, but yeah. But I think what I struggle with always is like I love goal setting and development and achievable so much. Like that's an
Mhm.
addiction for a lot of us, right? I struggle with just like the rest and recreation, the observation and appreciation. I've got some things in my affirmations in the morning, with just love and giving and expressing gratitude for what's here. So
Mhm.
to answer your question, it's that fine balance between, do I need to do that mountain bike loop 3 minutes faster and I'm going to do everything I can in my power to do that? Or is it, I'm appreciative of that I'm on a mountain bike and that I'm in the forest and that I'm can't think of anything else other than those 14 rocks in front of me and not like going ass over tea kettle. And so I think that's what I'm struggling with now. And it's this piece of, you still want to develop, but it shouldn't be the be all and the end all. There should be this thing of,
Ah,
I'm here where my feet are, and that's where I should be at this moment right now.
ah. Yeah, I literally just did that this morning. Well, actually, last Friday. I'm always pushing myself, right? So I kettlebells are my thing. I love kettlebells. It's
Ah,
just easy.
nice.
You just pick up the kettlebell and you go hard. I'm going to be 50 this year. And then so we went for a walk, and then my lower back was killing me. And Tracy goes, "It's those damn kettlebells." And I was like, "No,
Playing the
it's
bells.
I'm fit." But she says 300 at 20 kgs, it's too much. It's too much. And I came to realize that she was right. And it's like you, it's always that. I mean, it's what makes us who we are, about always improving and wanting to beat ourselves and that competitive edge and all that crap. But it is true that just say, hey, science says 17 minutes cardiovascular exercise. You don't have to go hard, big guy. Eh,
Yes.
Letting go of some of those things, that it's like employees and staff. What the staff that took you from a small business to a medium-sized business might not be the same folks that take you from that entrepreneurial side to, that constant operation. So same thing, you have
Mhm.
to make sure that your mindset is set for what was done, or challenge the status quo, if you want to call it that. Because like you said, right, being just
Yes.
grateful, because you guys moved from downtown Toronto. Like, you guys did a big ass move, like life
Oh, yes. My
wise.
wife and I. Yes. Yeah. Diane
Yes.
and I. Yes. Yeah. We did a big move just in December and we kind of threw it around for a while, but we moved out of Toronto. We've been in Toronto, like really close to downtown for 15, 16 years. Where we were, but been in
Hmm.
Toronto for more than that. And so we moved up to near Collingwood, up in the Blue Mountains, and it's a significantly different change in lifestyle. I have a CEO mentor. Shout out to Ron. I started throwing this around to him a bit, and he's like, "You have to do it. Like, you need." He's mentored like so many CEOs and seen so many CEOs go through some stuff. He's like, "You just need to be around nature. Like that's the whole piece. Like you get rest and relaxation, you get it, but you'll never know until you get there." And it was
Hmm.
crazy. We've been here. The Blue Mountains is like right. I got the track like right out my window where I can just walk up the hill, and Diana and I will go for an hour and 30-minute walk in the middle of nowhere. I would have never walked in Toronto. I hate walking. Like walking was get somewhere, not walk. Right?
Why are
Like
we
I'd
doing
rather
it? Why are we
kettlebell it.
walking?
Yeah. Where are we going? Can we stop at the bank on the way at least, just so I feel like this walk was worth something? So I can pick up some money or something. Um, so yeah, we made this big move, and it was easy, put it that way, because as my life and Diana's life is, if you have something that is probably going to fix you and fill you and heal you, you're being guided towards it. And so this was it, and it's unbelievable. The benefits of out like are like so much more than we ever imagined, right? I think I always say people like don't be scared to move.
So how do you, so because you're really good at putting the mask on others. I strongly believe that although you are a dark, sarcastic person,
Yeah,
uh
thank you, and I
thank you.
appreciate that. My humor is sometimes a little cutting
To
slash
not say
dirty.
slicing. uh you are an amazing leader. And so how do you put the mask? So how far are you from downtown Toronto or from the
2 hours.
office?
2 hours.
2 hours. How do you lead? How do you lead a decentralized workforce?
It's interesting. Our group says, so we've got 23 locations across the country. We don't have a store, so we basically have clinics. We don't have a clinic in Toronto, so it's essentially our head office, which is 5 of us in Toronto. I've been on an airplane a lot, going back and forth pre-COVID, just to get to people, right? To our leader in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Alberta, essentially where we exist. So we felt we were decentralized before COVID, as it was, and before we moved, right? Like we knew what Google Hangouts were, or when everyone was trying to figure out what Zoom was. So it's a great question. I think you can't always do it on a screen. Someone said the other day, there's this osmosis you get with being in person, in essence. And I kind of like that scientific word of osmosis, is that there's some leaking between the two. And I always say, I just want to smell you. I just want to get your essence in between us. But so to your question, I think you can do a lot of it, of course, through video. But you need to do the best you can to kind of see people in person. So getting to Toronto. So I'll be doing that every 2 weeks. It's been a little weird right now with shutdown and those sort of pieces. But I think in essence, we're super proud. We just won Canada's Most Admired Corporate Culture, one of 50 winners this year. And a lot of the pieces that we put into that were, our group's really good at connecting. So it's not this, like, let's get into a meeting, give me the tactical rundown. What's finance saying? What's marketing saying? What's this? What's this? It's take time to connect, even over the phone or even over the piece. Like, how are you? Like, what was your favorite part of this weekend? Like, use those icebreaker questions to get to know and understand people. Because even if you're in the same office, or even if you are centralized, you're not in front of them all the time. And so they need to be able to solve problems by themselves. They need to be able to lead by themselves. They need to be able to do things without me around. So I think, how do you lead it? I don't think there's any difference other than ensuring that you're connecting on a personal level and putting more emphasis on that when you are apart. Because when you're together, you do that. You get the water cooler talk. You get to talk about the hockey game. You do those sort of pieces that make sense. When you're on a work trip, you're going out for dinner and you're doing these different pieces. So I think really focus on those sort of pieces. But I'm dying now. I want to get on an airplane and go see my people and spend time with them, as we all are. And it'll come. And we'll be so much more grateful for that when we're able to do it, right?
Well, I think if there's one thing that COVID has taught us, is balance, right? Because I've worked with a lot of organization where you had to be on the plane all the time. And now we see the value in, like you, having a decentralized workforce, having consultants in, Africa, Southeast Asia, around the world to Zoom. Like, when people say, "Hey, did you hear about this Zoom thing?" Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people, the balance is going to be key in understanding. Yeah, if I'm going there is a human reason, right? So we need to build serotonin. We need to build oxytocin. We need to have those hormones flow through our body that comes from connecting with other human beings. And that's one of the things why putting people in jail just makes people meaner and angrier and stuff like that, because they don't have that love hormone. You're just making somebody who's really mean even meaner. And then, pardon my French, but fuck with their brains. Like, you lock somebody up in situations like that. And it's just, there's other incarceration methodologies or learning methodologies across the world that are a lot better than just sticking a man or a woman in a box.
I love how this gets just full political. I love how
yeah, it has to be. The one thing that I always do, and it's funny because people call me and say, "Hey, Martin," if I haven't spoken, say, "I'm good, thank you. How are you?" What'd you do on the weekend? And I force them to take the time to, okay, well, hold on a second. Stop for a sec. I haven't spoken to you since Friday. How's your weekend? Let's tone it down. And the one thing that I always is need help. What do you need help with? Because you can't push the envelope forward. And when people say, I don't need anything, well, I'll find something for you that you'll need help. So you only have to do it once or twice. And people say, well, here's how I need help. How is your culture in regards to, let's say, courage? And because if you put your mask on first, you're thinking about yourself first. Do you ask for help? Do you dictate? Do you ask? Is that, when you say best culture in where? What's the award that you won? Is it across Canada? Is it North America? Is it Ontario?
It's across Canada. Yeah, it's across Canada, and there's different winners depending on the size of the business. And a lot of it was kind of what you do for your people, right? Like how you're supportive and with them, and you think about development and those sort of pieces, and kind of how they rate your culture too, and they rate your piece, and where the culture comes from and derives from, and who leads it and who guides it, and what it was. It was actually fascinating. They had this. They sent us this. You go against a panel of judges. They judge you, and you're not even there, kind of thing. It's just a written submission. And one of the judges said there's three of us in the room: Carlos and Jerry, myself, and they're like, okay, I know you wrote this submission, because they kind of coach it. They go, but if we could bottle you three up, like it's a guarantee, like win. It's like what you've done with the organization has been unbelievable. And this happened well before I came in. This culture was award winning before I even touched it. But it's that essence of just that connection essence. Like back to that, right? Of where
it's not creepy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just that how do you define a culture? How does that continually get to move? How is it whatever it is? And I think we keep going back to our values as a company. And like you asked that, can I be helped? One of our values is approachable. We're essentially healthcare, right? So when someone comes in with a sleeping issue, you want to be approachable, because it can be like you got a blood test that you didn't want to get. It'd be like that. You think it's a death sentence in essence. And so it can be very hard for someone to kind of deal with that. And so I think this approachable nature of, can you ask for help? What an awesome question. Because again, who wants to ask for help? Like most people kind of think they get it, right? We'll go and we do some evaluate. I think from a leadership team too, because that's who I'm obviously most contact. We'll get pretty personal. We'll ask people how they're doing out of 10. Rate yourself. And if there's one number that I reflect back to a meeting when one number wasn't quite there, and it was like, okay, well, let's talk about that. Like, if you're okay with that, let's deal with that and like see where we can do and where we can help. And in essence, there's been a lot of that in the last 12 months because of people are grinding it out, and leaders are supposed to be, there's no crying in baseball, and off you go. But everyone's dealing with a new beast right now that's difficult. And so I think it all comes back to connecting. To me, I want to hang out with people. I want people to want to hang out with me. Like it's let's talk. And I always ask that question too. We've learned how to, LMI helped me ask really good questions. We take a lot of time in making sure we ask the right questions, the second question, the third question, the fourth question, the tell me mores. But it's almost like, what's your favorite part of the weekend? Like, get those questions. It's not how was your weekend? It's what was your favorite part? Getting into the feeling, getting into the motion of it. And we feel that makes us more empathetic towards our colleagues and also towards obviously the people we're selling to. In essence.
I mean, I always tell people that your core values should be very in tune with your brand promises. So what do you promise people, right? So at my company, my partners, I always force everybody from the project directors, the project managers, coordinators, even the administrators, right? Ours is ignite curiosity, crystallize thinking, concentrate action. Right. So if you're part of Urgio and you're not curious, then you're not part of Urgio, not for very long. If you can't crystallize your thinking, then you're not part of Urgio. And if you can't concentrate your actions. So the three main core values or behaviors that we have are the ones that we sell also. because that's when we go into a business and they're looking at improving profitability and gross revenue, and we look at behaviors and systems. Well, we need to sell them to become curious. We need to sell them the ability to crystallize their thinking and then to concentrate their action. And that's why everybody goes, oh wow, you need to practice what you preach, and you're just that convection or that conduit for what you truly and honestly believe in. Because I mean,
Right.
I can't. Sleep therapy has changed your life. It really has,
Mm-hmm.
and you have become well. It contributes to who you are today. It's not a wholly and just because you sleep well. I'll sleep for 20 hours and I'll be an amazing CEO for 4 hours and I can outdo you all. So, and then go back to bed. See, I'm a sloth. I just sleep 20 hours a day and then I stay up for 4 hours. I kick ass as a CEO. Then I go back to bed.
I get 5 times the amount of work done in 4 hours than I could. Yeah.
So let's talk about this, because this is critical for just you and your business. How has sleep made you a better leader?
Tie it all together. I love it.
Da, 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 da.
I look back to, I told this story to kind of our teams when I first joined the program. The sleep program.
I joined the program. Oh my goodness! Did you? Is this something we should know about this culture?
How does sleep make me a better leader? I literally, when I started sleeping better, I think that's part of it too. You do. There's an unknown of what that gets you, right? Sleep. You're doing sleep when you're unconscious. So whether I sleep better or not, I don't really know. It's just what it gives me during the daytime, like your wake hours, and from my wake hours, I was cranky all the time. I was fighting like meetings in the afternoon because I was just like, I was fueling myself with caffeine all the time. So I'd be jittery in the morning and tired in the afternoon and couldn't wait to kind of get out of things. Like I was always wanting to leave, essentially. Because I was just like, I just couldn't deal with a lot of time. And I think that's also where rest and relaxation and all these different things are so natural to me, being a non-well sleeper, however that's phrased. Forward is that those, I had to do those to survive, right? I couldn't work for 10. People are like, oh, I work 10, 12 hours a day. I'm like, I can't even work 4. Like that's unbelievable. So, and my mom was mentioning to me as we went through that, and she's obviously was helpful for me through all those years too, of like, I had migraines in the morning all the time. Like I just wake up with a migraine. Like it was just, I had to have Advil ready to go, just because I was like, hey, if I'm going to make my first meeting, I better like wake up at 6, take an Advil, and then sleep a bit more, just because my lack of sleep, the no oxygen was going to my brain, I was getting headaches and that sort of stuff.
Wow.
So classic sleep apnea. So to get to what, I always look at what I wasn't. I was someone who didn't care about anybody else because I didn't want to be around them. I just wanted to like disappear. I'd ask a question and not listen. Like I didn't care because I'm just like so tired. I gotta go get my next coffee. My mom said to me the one time, she's like, I don't know what you're doing, but you've never asked me questions like this before. Like you've never kind of sat with me before. You've never taken an opportunity to understand me before. And I'm like, what an amazing gift to hear from your mother, that's what you've become, someone who's known you all your life. And it was a really emotional time for me. But I think, to ask your question, that's what sleep did and does for me. It makes me a person that can make the person in front of me more important than I am. It can make me sit where my feet are and make them the most important person in the room. And it can make me a better servant leader, because I can come and I show up taking care of all my stuff, my sleep, my rest, my workouts, my whatever it is. Now it's your time, right? It's not my time. Let's purely understand what empathetic leadership means. And yeah, so I think my mom confirmed it back then, and still does to this day, that was just, and you think about that, that's 180 transformation. So that's how sleep changed my life. It turned me into the person I was capable of being.
Who's just sarcastic because he wants to be, not dark because he has to be.
Well, that's why I was such an asshole before, because it's like my humor was even more cutting at that point. So it was like, how can I get out of this?
Oh, dude, that story with your mother, that's powerful, man. That's wow. And it's applicable not just to sleep, but to be present, right? To be where your feet are, right? Uh, if you're standing there, then your mind, your body, and if you're not well rested, means that you're thinking about everything else, right? Same thing with a lot of entrepreneurs. Like, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? And they're just so focused on like getting shit done is such a double-edged sword, right? It's a good skill to have to get shit done, but we so focused on pride gets in the way of getting shit done. Oh, I get shit done all the time. Yeah, well, you spend time with your kids. Are you kind to your mom? Wow, dude, that is a powerful. I seriously, I'm not joking. It was kind of like, oh, like your mom telling you that. That's pretty. Wow, that's really wild.
It becomes like my parents are friends now, right? Like it's people at work are friends now. There's this, like, leaders are multipliers, leaders are repeaters,
Mhm.
leaders are multipliers, and I've always felt that I've had a gift to connect, but I wasn't able to multiply. Right? It was just, okay, we're here,
Mm.
we're good. And I think the biggest difference from sleep to me enabled me to help my leaders become better leaders and the best that they can be, and then the way they can be, so that they can multiply the leadership that keeps going and going and going. Right? So it's like, take that loaf of bread and tear it apart like as many ways as you can, and multiply the leadership, and because you can't do it yourself. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
leaders put a lot of stress on themselves that that's what they have to do. But the more we can make that person in front of us heard and understood and become a better leader, um, then we're making the world a better place. If we were all leaders, that's what LMI always taught me. If you could create, we have 80 some people in our organization right now. If they were all leaders, like really good leaders, like, how great's your organization? Like, unbelievable, right? That's like one of the dreams. And they're all great leaders, but if they're even better leaders and they can multiply as we kind of roll, then we have this real passion for at our work for just helping more and more and more people, and that includes the people who work for us, of course.
Mhm.
But if we can then multiply that out to, just think of the effect one better sleeper has on the people around them, right? And a lot of our case stories that kind of come out, or testimonies from customers, it's about what sleep gave them, but in the end, it's about what it gave their family, their bed partner, their job, their careers, the people that they affect. And so I
Mm.
feel that sleep has this multiplication factor, because if you can have one person show up well rested to that time when their kids come home from school, or when they have their Monday morning meeting, they're going to multiply just because of sleep, right? There's so much. It's the magic drug. You should try it.
Telling this to a guy who sleeps. What time do I go to bed? I go to bed around 10 o'clock and I wake up at 5 a.m., sometimes 4:45, somewhere around there.
Yeah, you're an early
Um,
riser, right?
oh
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
I'm on the West Coast, and a lot of people that I work with in Europe and East Coast, like you. So yeah, but my day's done a little bit lately with COVID. Has been a little bit later, but now things are picking back up on the West Coast. So we've got rugby and field hockey, and you know,
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
So the kids spend time coaching their teams. But anyways, that's you're right though. The multiplier, and people underestimate when well, I shouldn't say underestimate, when they hear leadership, and they when you break the word down, what is it to lead? Right? Is to stand in front, to be courageous enough. And leadership is to enact, or like friendship is to it's to engaged in a multifaceted, multidimensional relationship through leadership. So leadership means that you lead yourself, effective personal leadership I'm not afraid to stand in front. I'm not afraid to take choices, to make choices. And leadership is all
Mm,
about that. When you
yeah.
follow the string, it comes down to making choices. So if you as a leader facilitate the work, meaning give your team the opportunity to make choices.
Yes.
Okay. So that's leadership. So you're saying I'm providing you with the opportunity because I'm removing barriers. Okay.
Yes.
To make choices. And then after that, I'm elevating you. So I facilitate, then elevate. Because if you don't know how to make that decision, because you don't have enough resources in your mind, don't have the skills or knowledge, then it's my job to give you the skills and knowledge to make those decisions that you could not do before. So
Yes.
leadership means that, okay, I've got a circle of safety. My staff are comfortable. They feel safe under my supervision, under my leadership. They can make the decisions because I facilitate them and I empower them. So if they can't make decisions, then I facilitate and elevate them to make that decision to better yourself. So basically you're working yourself out of a job. And the biggest thing is people are afraid to let go. And I think that
Oh, yeah.
Ryan, you didn't give a shit to start with. So
That's exactly. I came into this going, I'm good. I don't
I was
care if
just teasing.
anyone's smarter than me. I'm like, I love it. You're smarter than me. Perfect.
You take care of that.
You
Oh,
think,
sorry.
yeah.
We got to put
I
some
love your
Sorry, go
humor
ahead.
to it. Yeah. No, sorry,
Oh,
cut you off. I
wow.
love your point that whole piece of like leadership's a skill is what
Mhm.
like I heard you say is that it's a skill and we need to facilitate that with others and until um, you're put into a leadership position or at least some leadership
Mhm.
opportunities, which we'll try to do at work too. Someone we feel is going to become a different leader, we'll put them in situations where they are leading and we'll
Mhm.
help them and facilitate them and empower them through that and let them make mistakes and let them make
Yeah,
their own decisions and kind of um, but they're not going to be able to develop leadership unless they're in a leadership opportunity. And it's
correct.
essentially that. Now, that doesn't have to be at work, of course. There's your leadership is influence, as our good
Mhm.
friend Steve Daniel as well we say too, and you have influence over other people in your life as well. Um, but yeah, put them in positions to succeed, right? And know that fine line of how much can I help them, and do they need to ask my permission or like back off? And it's you always think you got it and you don't, you got it, and you don't. It's always changing and moving, but just be there. Don't just be there for help. Be approachable. Be able to be asked like, hey, can you help me? I really need your support on this. Don't go, no, you got it. Go ahead, like take care of it. Well, you came to me and asked for help, so I appreciate how much chutzpah that took.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, and we'll get you through there. So I don't think there's ever. It's not easy.
Oh,
With a leadership piece, it's always flexing and moving and developing, right?
the other thing that I always say is that just because you delegate, don't disappear. Be diligent about it, right? So people say, "Oh, you got this." Well, and they don't reach out, and then all of a sudden somebody's veered off direction because of your
Mm,
lack of involvement, and you go, "Oh, that's not where you want it." So now you've just broken that person's back and saying, "Well, not even if it's not in a bad way, they would be disappointed that they've either gone too far." So don't be afraid to touch points. Say, hey, where are you on this? Where are you? How's it going? So, good direction, support, which is the tools and resources you need, but open lines of communication. Don't be afraid to reach out and also be, open, because a lot of people say, yeah, you got this. See ya. And then they're, in the weeds and you're going, oh, that's not what I wanted. Well, that's kind of your fault. Right. So,
totally. And there's that piece of delegation that's like it's a 4-step process. It's not just like one. It's like here you go. Here's your task to go do it. There's a piece, and now it's like you're learning how to do it. But then there's that support piece that you said to me. That's that coaching phase of, okay, I'm going to coach you through this. I'm
mhm,
going to ask some good questions. I'm going to try to get you to you to say how you're understanding it versus
mhm.
me to assume how you're understanding it, and coach with support through that piece. And then eventually, they can take it and run with it. But I think we go from as leaders from delegators to go, hey, would you like to this project? Okay, perfect. Okay, you got it. Boom, you come back over here, and it's too late. It's too far down the road, and the expectations might not have been set clearly enough. And as a
Mhm.
leader, that's our fault because we
Yeah.
didn't take the time to coach and support through that opportunity. I love this piece of teachers are tellers and coaches are askers. I'm not sure where I heard that. I'm sure it was through some
Yeah.
LMI piece, and it's no disrespect to anybody, but we can teach a skill by obviously telling them how to do things. But coaching is this piece. I'm just going to ask you, like, it's the easiest job in the world once you learn how to ask a question, right? Because you don't have to come up with any answers. Like we do these one-on-ones, with my team, every 2 weeks with my direct reports, and you sit into a meeting, and I'll prep whatever I can for it just to get present. But in the end, I don't know where it's going. I don't know what they're struggling with. It could be something personal we need to talk about at that point. It could be this. I always ask the question, what do you want me to not bring up right now? What are you hoping I don't ask?
Oh man, no, that's go ahead.
The first answer is like, I'm good, nothing. Like, I'm an open book. Like, are you? Just something. It's got to be something. But it always, I think coaching, once you get the knack of it and understand that you don't need to, as a leader, have all the answers. That to me is the real gift. And then I think that simplifies it for me, because I have opinions.
Oh, yes, you do.
I have opinions, but I don't need that. I think as a leader, I need an opinion, meaning I am full-heartedly, undeniably attached to the vision of this corporation. And I'm getting there no matter what. And that's it. Like, get behind me, let's roll. Like, that's the undeniable opinion I have about any decision that we make. Does it fit here? Does it embrace our values? Then great, we can kind of find a way. So there's where I'm allowed to, as a leader, go yes or no.
Yes.
But everything else can kind of flow in, right? It's just the coaching and the asking the questions of the other people to be able to do it, right? And to be able to enjoy it.
The people forget that people first is very important. A company is a life ship, as a boat, whatever you want to call it. If your focus is not on the boat, you're going to sink, and there's going to be no livelihood for everybody. So although I appreciate people who say people first, it's really about, let's talk about the people so that the boat stays afloat and keeps going, right? Because without the boat, there's no journey. There's no prosperity. If the company is not profitable, if it's not making money, then nobody else is making money. And therefore, there's no need for a boat, because see you later. So that's important to create an environment of safety, but hard work should be celebrated all the time. And I say hard work, smart work, whatever, just, good work should be celebrated. I'm going to ask you a last question. I'm going to come full circle, right? So we talked about leadership. We talk about put your mask on first. How do you lead and coach your organization to put their mask on first? Last question.
Oh, that's the last question. The penultimate. This is it. This
the
is where
pièce de
we're at.
résistance.
I tried to use a big word there, and I totally missed it. But, how do I coach and develop and lead others to put their mask on first? That's the question.
Correct.
So, number one, lead by example. That to me is integrity. I'm going to do what I say, what I'm going to do, but I'm also going to be transparent. We heard Michael McCain speak at our corporate culture summit, and he said that one of their values is dare to be transparent. It's literally like dare, like to me that says show yourself, like be yourself. So I am an open book. They all know to the most point what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I have, what my morning routine is, all that piece, and be integral about that piece, because I still feel that when you lead by example, those things will start to come in them. Like when they do the same things I do and they don't, it comes. And so for me, I have to put my mask on first. I'm doing it. Like you could follow me around for the whole day, for the whole week. I do that. And so I'm leading by example with integrity to ensure that they're doing that. So then the next question is, how do I help them do that? I ask them questions to that. So we speak a lot about personal life and goals and achievements outside of work as much as we do inside of work. And so for me to lead to help them put their mask on first, it's really all about the spokes of life that aren't the career and financial most necessarily. That can lead into personal too.
Of course.
What are you doing mental educational? Like what are you doing physically for physical and health right now? What are you doing for spiritual cultural? Like let's have a conversation about what you're doing to fill yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that I'm trying to do it too, and I learn from it, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
develop from them, of course, right? But encouraging, it's really those to be a whole person. And so we'll talk a lot, as much about, kind of, not as much, but we'll bring it up all the time, right? Like, what are you doing? Like, you can kind of sense it with someone's like, are you waking up a little later now? You're not doing your meditation. There's something going on, right? If you're a good enough connector with people, you can get that
You're
there's something
cranky.
there. You're cranky. You haven't booked a vacation in a while. You're not, all those
Oh, that
different
would be me.
pieces that are
That'd
in
be
there.
me. That'd be me. That'd be me.
Yeah, you book them before you need them. So
Oh,
I don't know if that made any sense, but I think you got to take
yeah.
care of yourself, and then you got to ask them how they're taking care of themselves, because that's an expectation for me. If you're in on my band,
Mm-hmm.
my team, I expect you to be coming to the table taking care of yourself, because I know you have to take care of others as well.
There's so many places we can go with that. There's people that say, well, it's very common in supervisors, especially in high risk, high labor area, mining, oil and gas, forestry. The guys want to take care of the other guys. It's okay if I put myself at risk, but I want to save my people. So what are you showing? You're really showing that you're having an at-risk behavior. It's okay for me to send emails at midnight, 1:00 in the morning to my team so that they don't have to do it. What at-risk behaviors are you demonstrating? Right. And so that is very, very critical as a father, as a mother. How many donuts are you having? Right. So don't do as I say, don't do as I do as I say.
Yeah, that's exactly. Good for the goose, good for the gander.
Yeah,
You get a lot of these.
yeah. So no, fabulous. I mean, I like Ryan and I could go on for days chatting.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we have to stop. Ryan, is it okay for people to reach out to you? Because I think we haven't touched the benefits of sleep therapeutics. So from what you're telling us through this episode, there's a lot of stuff that you can bring to not just individuals, but corporations as well. So I think that people should evaluate in their health and wellness the opportunity to include sleep therapeutics in their corporate kind of, hey, I'm going to pay your gym. I'm going to pay this. I'm going to pay that, especially now during COVID. Stress is pretty high. So, yeah.
Sleep is important. And we've got many different ways we can do it, not just CPAPs. There's so many other solutions that we can do in the daytime. A lot of it comes down to habits, right? And hygiene, and are you on your phone late at night? So we do some educational things for corporations as well, for sure. And we try to educate anyone who comes in our door, of course. And yeah, we're pushing towards anyone can reach out to me, because we're learning about it. And sleep, we're learning sleep's more obvious. Sorry, is what you're kind of saying as it goes now, especially this time. And we're so happy about that, because we feel we're in a knowledgeable place where we can help, right? And so, yeah, by all means, you can reach out to me at any moment. And should I say my email?
Sure, if you want to.
LinkedIn's there. Ryan at sleeptherapeutics.ca. That's pretty simple.
Okay.
If you can spell therapeutics, that's part of it.
That's part of the test.
You can Google that.
I say Ryan's last name, Hindmarsh.
Hindmarsh.
Are you only in Canada, or are you in the US as well?
We're only in Canada. Yeah,
okay.
I'm currently operating from bricks and mortar out of the East Coast and Alberta right now, but we're growing, expanding, and we'll be virtual. We are virtual, but we'll be virtual more and more across the country. So
okay. Fabulous. Well, even if the US people want we can reach out to you directly. I'm sure that you can point us in the right direction. So fabulous.
For sure.
Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show. Always fun. Always a good chat with Ryan and Martin. Oh, by the way, so for those who are listening and not watching, Ryan, over his right shoulder is a moose, and that is his spirit animal. So think of a moose, tall, lengthy, very determined, doesn't give a shit about anybody. Well, that's Ryan Hindmarsh. No, just kidding.
Fits me to a T.
I tease Ryan. He is an amazing leader. He's worked a lot on himself and others. Congratulations on bringing the team and where you're at, Ryan. I'm happy that you're happy.
Awesome, Martin. Thank you so much. And congratulations on this podcast. It's awesome. I've been listening to a bunch of them and learning a lot, and very appreciative to be invited, but also to kind of provide potentially some insight, because I know I get a lot from it. So,
Yeah.
well done.
Hey, I should listen. So for those who listen to this one, Tim Dumas, he does a lot of personal coaching for his staff. I wanted to mention that before. He does personal goal setting with his team, and he's got a really cool story about a lady who wanted a car. So if you listen to the podcast, I think it's coming up in next week or two with Tim Dumas. It's pretty powerful. It brought tears to my eyes. This lady wanted a car for her entire life, and just working through a liquor store, Tim and Jack's liquor store has made things possible for their staff. So another great demonstration of leadership. So Ryan, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, sir.
With that, we bid everybody a farewell. My name is Martin Hunter. I am the host of What CEOs Talk About, where we translate vision into frontline strategy. With that said, thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Thanks for tuning in to What CEOs Talk About. Make sure to click subscribe to get notified about future episodes, or check us out at www.whatceostalkabout.com.